Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, subscribers, viewers, and supporters of my channel. In this video, I am displaying for you an important requisite to help you conduct and perform an environmental audit, which is of a technical nature. Before we go on, I implore all my Muslim brothers and sisters, if you are already in a mosque for the Friday prayers, khutbah, tashkirah, and kulyah, please do not watch this video. Turn it off and pay attention to that one. Thank you very much. I wish you Jannatul Naim. The most important preparation for an environmental auditor before arriving at the audit site is knowing adequately what you are going to audit. Scope. So I am sharing with you the checklist for the technical environmental audit of those pollution control equipment. This video, however, is not covering the auditing format, which is already standardized by the ISO. I assume you are already exposed to an auditing work format, or perhaps an experienced auditor yourself. Let us now move on. The environmental audit has several scopes depending on its objective. My personal experience over 30 years prompted me to classify them into 3 scopes, as you could observe now. This video and subsequent ones shall focus on pollution control. In other words, how to audit pollution control equipment such as air pollution control equipment and water pollution control equipment. Yes, I'll also include how to audit their monitoring works and reports. Yes, we are discussing about dust collectors, scrubbers, perhaps electrostatic precipitators, wastewater treatment plant, sewage treatment plant, etc. But first, we need to prepare our checklist. This is the basis or audit standard before we go to the site. Now let's look at the checklist. Let's look into our first scope. I have Part A for you. This is a guide for auditors, at least in the Malaysian context. What shall be our audit standard for auditing pollution control equipment, especially in this country? So it is our responsibility as an environmental auditor to seek and sort for these legible or official documents related to the specific types of pollution control equipment or system which is covered within our scope of audit. They are the black and whites, literally, of their legibility as the approved and functional pollution control equipment. We need to read and understand all of them. I usually have a pocket note when I do this. Now let us begin and go through them. Number 1, approvals. We need to check for what has been approved. For example, type of equipment, whether it is cyclone dust collector, baghouse, etc. Their brand name and serial number, operational capacity like size, flow rates, etc. Its location and the site's layout plan, blueprints which are being endorsed by professional engineers registered with the BEM or Board of Engineers Malaysia, legible emission declaration made by the top management, expiry date, In the case of a license or permit, well, company names or names of individuals in these documents needs to be consistent though. These are legal binding documents. Also, please note of their reference number or license numbers, etc. Number 2 here. Is there any outstanding issues with regards to compliance with related authority? So we need to find out of any latest directive or legal actions taken upon them by relevant governing bodies. Its compliance status shall prevail when we conduct this audit at their premise. Now, number 3, we need to seek for the related operations manual or even SOP for the respective air pollution control equipment which we are auditing. All right. And number 4 here, we also require from them to hand over to us, along with all the above, of their monitoring reports, preferably identical to those which they have submitted to the authorities. Number 5, it is also important form of evidence to prove that these pollution control equipment are well maintained. So a copy of maintenance record for a certain period of time, which can be representative for your audit, should be obtained and scrutinized in advance. It will give you some good idea of their commitment in ensuring those equipment are in order at all times. Okay, now let's take a look at number 6. All test equipment and devices which measures specific standardized units or scientific units, whether imperial units or matrix international standards, needs to be calibrated. So its calibration certificates is a credential in your audit. Number 7, well, competent persons are legally regarded as the rightful qualified personnel to operate these pollution control systems. So you got to get a certified copy of their respective licenses or certificates prior your audit to the site. Do check for some legible details like name, serial number, IC number, and area of competency. Now, let's go to number 8. Finally, this is something which I believe you know best by now, the Malaysian Environmental Law. As you know, the EQA 1974 and all applicable regulations under it should be very, very close to you before starting this audit practice. Well, in the Malaysian context at least, if you need some snappy revision, just scroll through those videos in this channel. You're welcome. Next, let's observe which document you need to bring along to the site. Let's look at part B. Alright, so in part B, for the checklist of auditing and pollution control, you need to bring with you these 3 legal documents. Observe the first 3 bullets as displayed. This is purely based on experience. Sometimes I need to verify them more than once. In most instances, I saw peculiarities or irregularities or inconsistencies. So I double check the equipment in the presence of the auditee to confirm what we found. No arguments or debate over there right at that moment, just their explanation, and we note it down carefully. So here's our audit scope: all the common air pollution control equipment and devices. Remember, part A, as you saw just now, is basically your documentation audit, and part B, which document is vital for the site audit. So next, let's check IETS audit preparation. So let's go to number 2, current or latest DOE directive from the respective related authorities. We really need to spend some time reading and understanding what is going on. Try to figure out the background and what triggers those directives. So this is indeed our additional audit standard for this auditee. Remember, if the directive is too technical for you, please contact the auditee person in charge, seek explanation, then pursue to contact the agency and speak to their related officers and seek clarification from them, so you'd have a good idea about what, why, and who. The more accurate technical detail might as well come from the designer or its contractor for the system. Personally, I went up to this point in those days during my, audit days. Simply because I never come across in those instances certain particular system devices and upgrade before. So the technical consulting contractor explained the mechanism and how it would help improve wastewater treatment effectiveness for that case. Having understood this helped me visualize the directive with greater confidence on what to look for. Additional effort? Yes, indeed. And this preparation helps auditors to be sharper, hence waste less time at the site. Okay, let's look at number 3. Wastewater characteristics study report will tell us about the raw effluent, its origin, its nature, and its composition. Why do auditors need to know this? Because the next document that we are going to look at, the IETS design criteria and calculation. Catchable? So how is number 3 and number 4 related? What auditors should look for? You see, we as auditors in this matter must find the evidence that the IETS design was indeed based on actual data of effluent releases from its origin. In other words, the IETS design must quote a reference to this particular wastewater characteristics study as the basis of their design, without which I'd call it random design, and has broken the audit trail within the chain of evidence between the IETS design and the actual pollution load. So we are seeking evidence that the IETS was built to cope with actual effluent releases. Okay, next let's move into number 5. Let's take a look. This is the do's and don'ts for the entire IETS operation. How does this help auditors? We are not operating them, are we? Of course not. What auditors may look for here is to sample one or two instructions and, during the site audit, perhaps test the knowledge of the IETS operators or competent person and cross-check if their explanation matches with what is in this manual. This may justify that they complied with the manual or otherwise. However, unless you yourself do have a sound technical experience, then you may dig deeper. Hope you know what I mean. Remember, our objective here simply is to justify that the IETS operational staffs are following the manual. Done. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, here we are at number 6. As far as the monitoring report is concerned, it's really a breeze if we focus only on the data. We also need to check for the legibility of these reports. In addition to the standard format of scientific reports, there are a few areas worthy to be observed. Matters or areas like sampling personnel competency, sampling apparatus, sampling technique, samples chain of custody. Do you know that? From sampling point right up to the lab. Okay, sample storage period before reaching the lab. How long does it take? Samples preservation, samples test method or instrumental analysis, chemist professional certification, labs certification, test results, data interpretation and inference or conclusion, finally level of compliance. All right, so next let's move to number 7. Here's number 7. It's about calibration record. Now, well, the IETS or wastewater treatment plants do consist of several measuring devices such as barometer, flow meters, pH meters, etc., whereby electronic or mechanical sensors are involved. Question is, are they accurate? Are their reading representing its actual quantum? Therefore, these devices or equipment needs a scientific justification by an accredited certification body. Can in-house calibration be accepted? You ask me, yes. They are good, but in this world of standardization, they still need to prove to us legibly that they are certified or competent. So at this juncture, we need to check relevant calibration records of instruments and certification records of calibrating personnel. Okay, good. Let's go to number 8. Competent person. Okay, so we are there. This is about competent person. In this regard, the industrial effluent treatment system competent person. Some are being certified for physical treatment or chemical treatment or biological treatment or all three of them in the Malaysian context. I'm not sure of other countries. I've not seen this in Germany or Canada. And apparently these competencies require renewal in this country. I guess auditors, you know what to look for. Okay, let's move on to part B of this IETS audit. This is the sites audit. There you are. Shall remind us to bring along documents listed as the 3 bullets above. At this point, this bullet. These are documents that inevitably, in my practice, to ensure that I'm on top of the game, I bring it to the site in a folder. It's handy. Now, at this point, you have done your homework. I assume that is having scrutinized all these documents well enough, proficient at least. Therefore, when on site, auditors shall have a walk around as usual, the site review, technical, while inspecting, observing, and justifying all that was documented to what is built up in reality. Compare. Please do not skip any of the 4 site audit scopes as displayed. There you are. Alright, these are the site audit scope. Please do not skip this. You need to check where it comes from: primary treatment, secondary treatment, and tertiary treatment. Well, ask questions and jot down answers. Alright, that's your job. Do not argue, do not have any discussion with the auditee over there. Code of conduct, auditor. You will have the time for any non-conformance or irregularities that you saw, and you have time to table it out during the closing meeting. So be patient. Okay, at this point, I believe that you are already seeing the similarity between the technical and legal environmental audits. If so, then it's a good sign. Listen to this. All pollution control equipment in Malaysia are regulated under the Environmental Quality Act. In other words, the equipment is technical. The technicalities is part of the legal document or criteria. So if you are auditing under the ISO 14001 regime, or as DOE, contract auditors, pool of auditors, then what you have displayed in this video is really for you. However, the ultimate technical audit for the IETS design and operations should be run by chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, chemists, and microbiologists all together. I hope you're able to capture. Try to make this video snappy but concise. I hope you have enjoyed and able to do some revision if you are an old-timer in auditor, or if you're new, hopefully you can pick up something there. These are all based on experience. So we shall meet in the next video, shall we? Inshallah. See you, and I wish everybody a good audit work. And to all my Muslim counterparts, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I wish you all in Jannatul Naim. So take care until we meet in the next video, inshallah. Thank you, YouTube.